deep beneath the ocean floor, locked in ice cores spanning millions of years, and buried under layers of sediment that predate human existence by eons. Scientists have discovered something that challenges everything we thought we knew about life on Earth. Traces of industrial activity, evidence of large-scale mining operations, chemical signatures that suggest advanced metallurgy, all dating to periods when, according to conventional science, only primitive microorganisms existed on our planet. What if the story we've been told about human civilization, that we are the first intelligent species to reshape this planet, is fundamentally wrong? What if we are not the pioneers of technology and complex society, but merely the latest chapter in a far older story? Welcome to one of the most profound questions facing modern science, the possibility that Earth has hosted advanced civilizations long before humans ever walked upright. It's a question that forces us to reconsider not just our place in history, but our understanding of time itself, the resilience of life, and what traces a technological civilization might leave behind after millions of years. To understand this possibility, we must first grasp the almost incomprehensible vastness of Earth's history. Our planet is approximately 4.5 billion years old. Complex life has existed for over 500 million years. Yet human civilization in any recognizable form spans barely 10,000 years. Even if we extend this to include our earliest tool-making ancestors, we're talking about perhaps 3 million years, a cosmic blink of an eye. Consider this. If Earth's history were compressed into a single year, complex life wouldn't appear until November. Dinosaurs would rule for most of December, and all of human civilization would occupy the last few minutes before midnight on New Year's Eve. In this context, asking whether we're the first advanced species to emerge seems not just reasonable but inevitable. The fossil record, magnificent as it is, represents only a tiny fraction of the life that has existed on Earth. Fossilization requires extremely specific conditions, and the vast majority of organisms that have ever lived left no trace in stone. If a technological civilization had existed millions of years ago, what evidence would remain for us to find? Dr. Gavin Schmidt of NASA's Goddard Institute, working with astrophysicist Adam Frank, has termed this the Silurian hypothesis, named after the ancient race from Doctor Who, but grounded in serious scientific inquiry. Their question is deceptively simple. If an industrial civilization had existed on Earth millions of years before humans, what geological signature would it leave behind, and would we recognize it? The answer is both sobering and intriguing. Most of what we consider permanent markers of our civilization would vanish remarkably quickly in geological terms. Cities would crumble, roads would be reclaimed by vegetation, and even our most durable structures would be ground to dust by the relentless forces of erosion and tectonic activity within a few million years. But some signatures would persist. Changes in atmospheric composition, isotopic anomalies in rock layers, mass extinction events, and certain chemical signatures could survive for hundreds of millions of years, waiting to be discovered by future archaeologists or paleontologists studying deep time. When we examine Earth's geological record with this possibility in mind, certain anomalies begin to take on new significance. The Great Oxidation Event, which occurred around 2.4 billion years ago, fundamentally transformed our planet's atmosphere. Mainstream science attributes this to the evolution of photosynthetic organisms, particularly cyanobacteria that began producing oxygen as a waste product. But the scale and speed of this transformation are remarkable. Oxygen levels rose from virtually zero to significant percentages of the atmosphere in what appears to be a relatively short geological time frame. While biological processes can certainly account for this change, The pattern bears some resemblance to what we might expect from rapid industrial development. The Permian-Triassic extinction event, occurring around 252 million years ago, eliminated over 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrate species. Known as the Great Dying, it represents the most severe extinction event in Earth's history. The leading scientific explanation involves massive volcanic eruptions in what is now Siberia, which released enormous quantities of greenhouse gases and toxic compounds into the atmosphere. Yet some aspects of this extinction pattern are puzzling. The chemical signatures in rock layers from this period show evidence of rapid climate change, ocean acidification and atmospheric composition shifts that occurred over time frames that seem almost impossibly fast for purely geological processes. The isotopic ratios of certain elements suggest industrial-scale processing that scientists struggle to explain through known volcanic or biological mechanism. More recently, researchers have identified what they call the Anthropocene, the proposed geological epoch defined by human impact on Earth's systems. The markers of this epoch include dramatic changes in atmospheric composition, mass species extinctions, the appearance of novel materials like plastics in concrete and sedimentary layers, and isotopic signatures from nuclear testing. But what if similar markers exist in much older geological layers, attributed to natural processes because we haven't considered the possibility of pre-human technological civilization? One of the most compelling arguments for ancient civilizations comes from what scientists don't find as much as what they do. Earth's geological record contains numerous quiet periods, extended time frames where the diversity of life appears to plateau or even decline without obvious natural causes. These silent epochs in the fossil record have traditionally been attributed to preservation bias, incomplete sampling, or gradual environmental changes. But some researchers have begun asking whether these periods might represent something else entirely: the aftermath of technological civilizations that collapsed, leaving behind depleted ecosystems and altered planetary conditions. Jana Gaber, a geochemist at the University of California, has identified several periods in Earth's history where isotopic signatures suggests large-scale industrial activity. Her research focuses on rare earth elements and their distribution patterns in ancient rock layers. These elements are crucial for modern technology, and their depletion or concentration in specific geological contexts could indicate systematic extraction and processing. What we're seeing in some of these ancient formations, Gaber explains in her research papers, are chemical signatures that look remarkably similar to what we would expect from large-scale mining and refining operations. The traditional explanation is that these patterns result from unusual geological processes, but we may need to consider alternative interpretation. The distribution of certain elements in Precambrian rock formations shows patterns that some researchers describe as too organized for purely natural processes. Concentrations of rare metals appear in configurations that suggest systematic extraction, processing, and waste disposal patterns that mirror those created by modern industrial civilization. Across human cultures, separated by vast distances and millennia of independent development, similar stories emerge about advanced civilizations that existed in the remote past. These accounts are typically dismissed as mythology, but their remarkable consistency suggests they might preserve fragments of actual historical memory. The Hindu concept of cyclical time describes vast cosmic ages, called kalpas, during which civilizations rise and fall repeatedly. The Puranas speak of previous worlds that achieved great technological advancement before being destroyed by natural catastrophes. These texts describe flying vehicles, powerful weapons, and cities that could float in the air, technologies that sound remarkably like science fiction, yet are presented as historical accounts of the distant past. Plato's account of Atlantis, recorded in the Timaeus and Critias, describes an advanced civilization that existed over 9,000 years before his own time. While most scholars consider Atlantis to be Plato's philosophical allegory, His description contains surprisingly specific details about technology, social organization, and environmental engineering that seem oddly prescient for ancient Greek thought. Similar accounts appear in Mesopotamian texts, Egyptian records, and oral traditions preserved by indigenous cultures worldwide. The Epic of Gilgamesh describes beings who possessed knowledge of metalworking, engineering, and astronomy that surpassed anything available to the civilizations that recorded these stories. What makes these accounts particularly intriguing is their focus on cyclical time and recurring civilization. Unlike linear historical narratives, these traditions consistently describe history as a series of cycles, with advanced civilizations rising, flourishing, and ultimately collapsing due to their own hubris or natural catastrophes. Modern archaeology faces a fundamental limitation when searching for evidence of ancient advanced civilizations: the assumption that such evidence would resemble our own technological artifacts. We search for tools, buildings, and artwork that match our understanding of what civilization looks like. But what if advanced civilizations developed along completely different technological paths? What if they achieved remarkable capabilities through biological engineering rather than mechanical technology? What if their most sophisticated creations were designed to integrate seamlessly with natural ecosystems rather than dominating them? The Nazca lines in Peru demonstrate that ancient civilizations possessed surveying and construction capabilities that modern archaeology struggles to explain. These massive geoglyphs, visible only from the air, required precise mathematical planning and execution across vast distances. Their creation suggests not just advanced knowledge, but also organizational capabilities that challenge assumptions about pre-industrial civilization. Recent LiDAR surveys of the Amazon rainforest have revealed extensive networks of earthworks, roads, and settlements that were previously hidden beneath the forest canopy. These discoveries suggest that pre-Columbian civilizations in South America achieved levels of environmental engineering and population density that rival modern urban planning. Dr. Michael Heckenberger's research in the Amazon has uncovered evidence of integrated agricultural urban systems that supported complex societies for thousands of years, while maintaining ecological sustainability. These civilizations achieved technological sophistication through symbiosis with natural systems rather than domination over them. If such approaches to civilization development were possible with Stone Age technology, what might have been achieved by hypothetical civilizations with millions of years to develop and refine their technique? Perhaps the most promising location for evidence of ancient civilizations lies beneath the world's oceans. Over 80% of the seafloor remains unexplored, and the deep ocean provides some of the best preservation conditions on the planet. Seafloor sediment cores reveal detailed records of Earth's environmental history stretching back hundreds of millions of years. Within these cores, researchers have discovered anomalies that are difficult to explain through known natural processes. Layers rich in processed metal, unusual isotopic signatures, and even what appear to be manufactured materials embedded in sediments that predate human existence by vast margin. The Mariana Trench, Earth's deepest known location, has yielded sediment samples containing microscopic objects that some researchers describe as possibly artificial. These structures, composed of materials that don't match known geological processes, are found in layers dating to periods when complex life was supposedly limited to simple marine organisms. Elena Vasquez, a marine geologist specializing in deep-time sedimentology, has documented over 40 locations worldwide where seafloor samples contain what she terms technological signatures, chemical and physical evidence that suggests large-scale industrial activity in the distant past. The deep ocean is Earth's ultimate archive, Dr. Vasquez notes in her research. If advanced civilizations existed in the past, the evidence would most likely be preserved in deep marine sediment. What we're finding challenges our assumptions about the natural versus artificial origin of certain materials. Recent advances in deep-sea exploration technology have made it possible to examine these sediment cores with unprecedented precision. Electron microscopic eye
reveals structures within ancient sediments that bear remarkable resemblances to manufactured objects, though their extreme age makes definitive identification challenging. One of the most compelling lines of evidence for possible ancient civilizations comes from isotopic analysis of geological samples. Isotopes are variants of chemical elements that have different numbers of neutrons, and their ratios in natural materials follow predictable patterns based on physical and chemical processes. Industrial activity creates distinctive isotopic signatures that can persist for millions of years. Modern human civilization has already altered the isotopic composition of various elements in measurable ways, creating markers that will be detectable to future geologists, even after our cities have crumbled to dust. When researchers apply similar analysis techniques to ancient geological samples, they sometimes discover isotopic anomalies that are difficult to explain through known natural processes. Certain rare earth elements show distribution patterns that suggest systematic extraction and concentration, while others appear depleted in ways that mirror modern industrial processing. The most striking examples come from formations dating to the Precambrian era. Over 500 rock samples from this period sometimes contain isotopic signatures that match those produced by high-temperature industrial processes, including ratios that are characteristic of advanced metallurgy and chemical refining. Sarah Chen's work at MIT focuses on what she calls orphan isotopes, unusual elemental compositions found in ancient rocks that don't match any known natural formation process. Her database now includes over 200 documented cases of such anomalies, distributed across different geological periods and geographical locations. The pattern suggests either unknown natural processes that we haven't discovered yet, Chen explains, or the possibility that industrial activity occurred on Earth far earlier than we previously thought possible. If ancient civilizations developed along biological rather than mechanical paths, their traces might be found in the genetic record of life itself. Recent advances in genomics have revealed aspects of evolutionary history that suggest possible artificial intervention in biological development. Certain genetic sequences appear in multiple unrelated species in ways that are difficult to explain through natural evolutionary process. These horizontal gene transfers could represent natural phenomena, but some researchers have noted that their patterns resemble what might result from intentional genetic engineering. The Cambrian explosion, which occurred approximately 540 million years ago, saw the rapid appearance of complex multicellular life forms with sophisticated body plans, sensory systems and behavioral capabilities. The speed of this evolutionary development has puzzled scientists since its discovery, as it seems to violate the gradual pace typically associated with natural selection.
Dr. Michael Reed, a molecular biologist studying ancient genetics, has identified genetic sequences that appear to be too sophisticated for their apparent age. These sequences encode for complex proteins and regulatory systems that would typically require millions of years of gradual development to evolve naturally. What we're seeing in some of these ancient genetic lineages, Dr. Reed notes, are molecular machines that show signs of elegant design, as if someone with advanced knowledge of biochemistry had optimized them for specific functions. The possibility that ancient civilizations might have achieved technological advancement through biological engineering rather than mechanical industry would explain why we find so few traditional archaeological traces while still accounting for the sophisticated results achieved by some ancient cultures. Earth's history includes several mass extinction events that eliminated large percentages of existing species and fundamentally altered the planet's biological systems. While most of these extinctions are attributed to natural causes, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, climate change, some researchers have begun asking whether any might have resulted from the activities or collapse of advanced civilizations. The pattern of extinctions throughout Earth's history shows interesting correlations with periods of rapid environmental change, atmospheric composition shifts, and geological anomalies. If advanced civilizations had existed and subsequently collapsed, we might expect to see exactly these kinds of signatures in the geological record. The concept of ecocide, civilizational collapse due to environmental destruction, provides a framework for understanding how advanced societies might create their own extinction events. Modern climate science demonstrates how industrial activity can alter planetary systems in ways that threaten the continuation of technological civilization. If similar processes had occurred in the distant past, the resulting extinction events might appear in the geological record as natural catastrophes while actually representing the consequences of civilizational overreach. The survivors of such collapses would be those species capable of adapting to the altered environmental conditions, potentially explaining some of the apparent evolutionary leaps found in the fossil record. James Rodriguez, a paleoclimatologist studying ancient atmospheric conditions, has identified several periods in Earth's history where environmental changes occurred at rates that seem incompatible with purely natural processes. The speed of these changes suggests active intervention. Something was rapidly altering atmospheric composition in ways that typically require millions of years of gradual development. Dr. Rodriguez explained, either we don't understand natural systems as well as we thought, or something else was influencing planetary conditions. The search for evidence of ancient civilizations has been revolutionized by new technologies that can detect traces invisible to earlier generations of research. Satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and advanced chemical analysis techniques have opened new possibilities for investigating deep time. LiDAR technology, which uses laser pulses to map surface features with extraordinary precision, has revealed previously unknown archaeological sites around the world. When applied to geological formations, similar techniques might detect artificial structures or landscapes modified by ancient civilizations, even after millions of years of erosion and sedimentation. Mass spectrometry and isotopic analysis can now detect chemical signatures at levels of precision that were impossible just decades ago. These techniques can identify artificial materials, processed elements, and industrial byproducts in geological samples with remarkable sensitivity. Machine learning algorithms are being applied to the analysis of geological data, searching for patterns that might indicate artificial intervention in natural processes. These systems can process vast datasets and identify anomalies that human researchers might miss. Crowdsourced research projects have engaged amateur scientists and citizen researchers in the search for unusual patterns in publicly available geological and archaeological data. Online collaboration has accelerated the pace of discovery and enabled investigation of theories that might not receive funding through traditional academic channels. The Internet age has transformed how evidence for alternative histories is discovered, analyzed, and shared. Digital archives have made available geological surveys, archaeological reports, and scientific data that was previously accessible only to specialists. Online databases now contain millions of geological samples, satellite images, and research papers that can be searched and compared by anyone with an internet connection. This democratization of information has enabled new forms of investigation and collaboration. Social media and online forums have created communities of researchers, both amateur and professional, who share information and coordinate investigations into anomalous findings. These networks have identified patterns and connections that might have been missed by individual researchers working in isolation. The speed of information sharing has accelerated the pace of discovery while also creating challenges in distinguishing between legitimate research and speculative fiction. The same tools that enable serious investigation also facilitate the spread of unsupported theories and misinterpretation of data. However, the overall effect has been to expand the scope of investigation beyond traditional academic boundaries and to question assumptions that might have gone unchallenged in earlier eras. If Earth has indeed hosted advanced civilizations before humans evolved, the implications would fundamentally alter our understanding of life, intelligence, and our place in the cosmic order. We would no longer be pioneers,
but inheritors of a much longer tradition of technological development. This possibility would also provide new perspectives on the challenges facing our own civilization. If previous advanced societies had collapsed due to environmental destruction, resource depletion, or other systemic failures, their example might offer crucial insights for avoiding similar fates. The cyclical view of history found in many ancient traditions would gain new credibility if evidence supported the existence of previous technological civilizations. Rather than linear progress, human development might represent one cycle in a recurring pattern of rise, flourishing, and collapse. Such a revelation would also raise profound questions about the nature of progress and the assumptions underlying modern technological development. If advanced civilizations had existed for millions of years before disappearing entirely, it would suggest that technological sophistication alone is not sufficient to ensure long-term survival. The search for evidence of ancient civilizations might also inform our approach to detecting life on other planets. If advanced civilizations can exist and disappear leaving minimal traces, the absence of obvious technological signatures elsewhere in the universe might not indicate the absence of intelligence. Despite the intriguing possibilities and anomalous findings, the scientific community remains largely skeptical of claims regarding pre-human advanced civilization. The standards of evidence required to support such extraordinary claims are necessarily high, and much of the existing data can be explained through conventional geological and biological processes. The challenge lies in distinguishing between genuinely anomalous findings that might indicate artificial origins and unusual but natural phenomena that we don't yet fully understand. The history of science is filled with examples of mysterious observations that were later explained through the discovery of new natural processes. However, the absence of definitive proof should not preclude continued investigation. Some of the most important scientific discoveries have emerged from pursuing seemingly impossible possibilities and challenging established assumptions. The key is maintaining scientific rigor, while remaining open to evidence that might challenge conventional understanding. This requires careful documentation, reproducible results, and willingness to subject findings to rigorous peer review. The search for ancient civilizations also requires interdisciplinary collaboration between geologists, biologists, archaeologists, and other specialists who might not typically work together. The complexity of the question demands expertise from multiple fields. In exploring these possibilities, we must balance open-minded inquiry with responsible speculation. The questions surrounding potential ancient civilizations touch on fundamental issues of human identity, our relationship with the environment, and our understanding of progress in civilization. These topics can easily become vehicles for unsupported theories, conspiracy thinking, or ideological manipulation. The challenge is maintaining scientific objectivity while exploring ideas that challenge established narratives. The responsibility of researchers and communicators in this field is to present evidence clearly, acknowledge uncertainties honestly, and avoid making claims that exceed what the data can support. Speculation must be clearly identified as such, and alternative explanations must be considered fairly. At the same time, the potential significance of these questions justifies continued investigation even when definitive answers remain elusive. The history of science demonstrates that today's speculative possibilities sometimes become tomorrow's accepted facts. The goal should be to expand our understanding of what is possible while maintaining the intellectual integrity necessary for genuine scientific progress. As our technological capabilities continue to advance, our ability to detect traces of ancient civilizations will improve. New analytical techniques, more sophisticated detection equipment, and better theoretical frameworks may eventually provide definitive answers to questions that remain speculative today. The exploration of deep time represents one of the final frontiers of scientific investigation. While we have mapped the surface of Mars and detected planets orbiting distant stars, the deep history of our own planet remains largely mysterious. Future research directions might include more extensive deep ocean exploration, advanced analysis of geological samples, and the development of new techniques for detecting artificial signatures in natural systems. The search for evidence of ancient civilizations also provides a framework for understanding the long-term sustainability challenges facing our own society. Whether or not previous advanced civilizations existed, the possibility forces us to consider the ultimate consequences of our technological choices. The question of whether humans are the first advanced civilization on Earth may never be answered definitively, but the investigation itself deepens our understanding of planetary systems, the development of life, and the complex relationship between intelligence and environment. Perhaps the most profound implication of the ancient civilization hypothesis is what it suggests about the ultimate fate of technological society. If advanced civilizations have existed before and disappeared completely, leaving only subtle traces in the geological record, it raises uncomfortable questions about the long-term prospects for our own civilization. The great silence of deep time might not reflect the absence of intelligence, but rather its transient nature. Civilizations might routinely achieve remarkable sophistication only to collapse under the weight of their own success, leaving Earth to recover and eventually give rise to new forms of intelligence. This possibility provides a sobering perspective on current global challenge. If our predecessors failed to achieve long-term sustainability despite advanced technology, what makes us believe we will succeed where they failed? Yet the same evidence might also provide hope. If life repeatedly gives rise to intelligence and technological capability, it suggests remarkable resilience in the face of even catastrophic setbacks. Earth might be not just our home, but a cradle of recurring consciousness that spans geological time. The search for ancient civilizations ultimately returns us to fundamental questions about our place in the universe, and our responsibility as conscious beings capable of shaping planetary destiny. Whether we are the first or the latest, we carry the burden and privilege of stewarding this remarkable planet. As you contemplate these possibilities, ask yourself, what traces will our civilization leave for future investigators to discover? And if we are indeed the inheritors of a much longer tradition of intelligence on Earth, what wisdom might we glean from the silence that surrounds us? Not empty void, but the patient memory of deep time, holding secrets we are only beginning to glimpse. The next time you hold a piece of ancient rock or gaze at the stars or consider the vast expanse of geological time, remember that you might be touching the remnants of worlds we never knew existed. Civilizations that rose and fell while the Earth itself was young, leaving behind only whispers in stone and chemistry that we are finally learning how to hear.